We'll continue with Federalist number 9. This is part 4. It's only the second paragraph. Like I said, this is a very important Federalist paper, and the stuff that he talks about are extremely relevant to freedom, establishing a government that is respectful of your freedom, of your liberty, and also, it's a government that, in case a would-be tyrant somehow finds his or her way excuse me, into the system of checks and balances and the division of power and the independent judiciary that's in place will checkmate the would-be tyrant. I already mentioned earlier that somebody like Trump, if the system was not such that you could check him and block him from going too far, he would have. He still might try, but I think gradually he'll learn his lesson. Also, beautiful First Amendment, which guarantees freedom of the press. These are some of the most fundamental pillars of freedom. And this Federalist, Hamilton, starts talking about it. Let me start reading the second paragraph. From the disorders that disfigure the annals of those republics, the advocates of despotism have drawn arguments not only against the forms of republican government, but against the very principle of civil liberty. They have decried all free government as inconsistent with the order of society, and have indulged themselves in malicious exultation over its friends and partisans. Happily for mankind, stupendous fabrics reared on the basis of liberty, which have flourished for ages, have in a few glorious instances refuted their gloomy sophism, and I trust America will be the broad and solid foundation of other edifices not less magnificent, which will be equally permanent monument of their errors. Hamilton mentions that the opponents of this Constitution constantly bring up the examples of bad republics over the years, or people who've written history of some of these republics either don't fairly judge them or are just totally ignorant. He says, we should not be fooled by this. We know that in the past, sorry, I have had this lingering cold and can't shake it off. Anyways, when he says, happily for mankind, stupendous fabrics reared on the basis of liberty, he says there are examples that there have been republics that have been exemplary, that have been great. Now he's probably referring to the example of Rome before it became an empire. In around the year 500 before Common Era, Romans did away with the last of the kings and established a republic that continued to exist for almost 5 centuries, most of the power was in the hands of the Senate. So he says there have been examples, great examples that we can learn from. Also, indirectly, he mentions, as we know, as we saw in Federalist number 8, he also mentions some of the aspects, good aspects of the British Empire, or Britain as an example of a good government. So he says, don't be fooled by all the people who criticize us, because there are examples that we can share with you, and we'll learn lessons of the past. And he pretty much is saying that we, in bringing this Constitution to you, we have relied on the lessons of the past. We've learned what past teaches us, and from that we put together this Constitution to make sure that your freedom, your liberty is secure, your prosperity is almost guaranteed. So he says, don't be fooled by the people who are writing articles against this Constitution. And he says, as he continues in this essay, he'll share with you some of the ingenious, some of the really new and great ideas that they've thought about. That's foundation of a free government. As we go along, we'll visit them, we'll read them, and I hope we can benefit from them.